With the crippling challenges posed on the education sector by the current public health crisis, how would the mode of learning be delivered? Is a never ending question from the parents, students, stakeholders, and even school personnel for the upcoming school year. In this light, it is my honor to present Ponciano, Alzona Elementary School, formerly San Juan Elementary School, Learning Continuity Plan for school year 2020-2021, which accepts these challenges of the new normal learning amidst COVID-19 pandemic. The LCP is our major commitment in ensuring the health, safety, and well being of our learners, teachers, and personnel in time of COVID 19, while finding ways for education to continue amidst the crisis. So, what about PAES? How did PAES manage to promote a continued learning environment for everyone amidst the pandemic? In accordance to the mandate of DepEd, public elementary schools must strongly adhere to the guidelines set by the department on the continuity of learning during the new normal. Webinars and training workshops online were tirelessly conducted in order to meet the requirement for the readiness of public schools. With the right coordination and cooperation, PAES maintains strong communal support from the community of San Juan Alaminos Laguna for the continuance of classes through home-based deliveries. May have been an indirect solution to the high rise of infection cases, but with the vigorous support on this initiative, the new normal learning will push through in its pursuit of our shared brand of education. Moving forward, under Section 1, School Key Education Data, in LCP, the choice and contextualization of the learning delivery modality of schools will depend not only on the local COVID 19 situation and access to certain learning platforms, but also to pertinent school profile on enrollment, capacity for distance learning, and challenges and interventions for the learning process management of learners. Next, under this section, presented is a graph showing PAES enrollment by grade level for school year 2020-2021. PAES currently holds a total enrollment of 365 regular learners and 9 learners with special needs. The said enrollment for school year 2020-2021 was primarily administered remotely through Oplan Balik Eskwela using online engagement on the school's Facebook page and coordination with Sangguniang Barangay of San Juan for a wider dissemination of information. Those learners without access on internet were being contacted through call or text by their previous advisors while others were reached through Messenger, Viber, or WeChat. Dropbox enrollment and the physical submission of LESF or the Learners Enrollment and Survey Form were also initiated on the third week of June. The results from the LESF and the enrollment gave PAES an insight on the most effective learning modality appropriate for the school. Next is the total number of teachers. The teaching force of PAES is composed of 14 exemplary and hardworking teachers with an average ratio of 2:1, headed by an equally competitive school head. On the other hand, with regards to the challenges that may affect the child's learning processes, the results is supported by the fact that accessibility, as we are all aware of, remains to be a main issue of utmost concern, especially among public schools. But we have devised various modalities to ensure that online learning is only one of the options among all others in this new learning environment. Modular distance learning can provide a more inclusive approach towards the continuance of education amidst the pandemic, as this will ensure that connectivity problems will be addressed if not avoided or lessened. Moving forward, the pie chart shows the distribution of the employment status of the parents or guardians of the learners. Results follow that most of the parents of learners from PAES are unemployed with 219 individuals. The others are full time employees, part time employees, and some are self employed. Due to the global pandemic, massive layoffs prompt the unemployment of 89 individual parents and guardians based on the survey. The high cases of unemployment could directly influence the child's learning process regardless of modality, as unemployment, according to studies, is linked to having lack of educational foundation of the parents or guardians to provide a thorough learning experiences for the learners. Next, this pie chart manifests the number of house members who can provide instructional support to the learners' distance learning. Based on the survey, majority of the learners have their parents or guardians to help them during distance learning. Nevertheless, the results also support alarmingly that 6 learners have an unavailable adult to guide them through distance learning. Moving forward with Section 2, the Framework and Implementation Plan. PAES have repeatedly consulted and collaborated with partner institutions and organizations in crafting the LCP, which includes key features on K 12 curriculum adjustments, alignment of learning materials, various modalities of delivery, and corresponding teacher and parent or guardian training for homeschooling. These modifications on certain policies and practices were necessary steps in adopting to the new normal while still remaining true to the framework of sulong edukalidad and education futures. Presented is the School Learning Continuity Plan Operationalization Framework aligned with Sulong Edukalidad, Pivot ICLEA Framework, and Lago Laguna Learning Continuity Plan. PAES supports Sulong Edukalidad of the Central Office and adheres to ICLEA framework of the region. By following their path, it can make the school successful and positively working with the idea and information for a better institution for this new normal learning. The blue color indicates the intent, the yellow indicates the competencies, the green for assessments, and red for learning experiences. Next is the learning modality of best fit. The learning modalities that schools can adopt may be one or a combination depending on the COVID-19 restrictions and the particular context of learners in the school or locality. Many members of the community express their anxiety about the settings of these new modalities, and some understandably do not even want to engage because of health risks. There are different factors to consider in choosing the best fit learning modality. During the remote enrollment for the school year 2020-2021, most of the parents or guardians chose modular type of learning because availability of devices at home is a big factor in choosing the best fit learning modality. Most of the learners do not have their own gadgets or devices to use in online distance learning. That is why most of them prefer modular distance learning. Also, challenges that the learner might encounter during the distance learning are also considered. Aside from the availability of gadgets, the insufficiency of load or data allowances, and the availability and stability of internet connection are among the biggest concerns of the parents. In modular learning, lessons would be comprehensively outlined in the modules with respective activities to help in the learning process. The teachers would be the main facilitators of the printing, compiling, and home to home distribution to the learners through the help of barangay officials and LGUs to prevent unnecessary movements of learners and to ensure safety among stakeholders. Many members of the community express their anxiety about the settings of these new modalities, and some understandably do not even want to engage because of health risks. There are different factors to consider in choosing the best fit learning modality. During the remote enrollment for the school year 2020-2021, most of the parents or guardians chose modular type of learning because availability of devices at home is a big factor in choosing the best fit learning modality. Most of the learners do not have their own gadgets or devices to use in online distance learning. That is why most of them prefer modular distance learning. Also, challenges that the learner might encounter during the distance learning are also considered. Aside from the availability of gadgets, the insufficiency of load or data allowances, and the availability and stability of internet connection are among the biggest concerns of the parents. In modular learning, lessons would be comprehensively outlined in the modules with respective activities to help in the learning process. The teachers would be the main facilitators of the printing, compiling, and home to home distribution to the learners through the help of barangay officials and LGUs to prevent unnecessary movements of learners and to ensure safety among stakeholders. Next, the table shows the number of classes per grade level prescribed by the regional office and also the actual number of classes and modalities that best fit for each class. Based on the data gathered through LESF, most of the learners in all levels preferred modular learning modality with printed module with an overall total percentage of 99%. Presented is the process flow of modular learning delivery. For the first part, printed materials such as modules, worksheets, and assessment sheets provided by the school will be given to the students. Next, teachers will inform the parents on what, where, and when they get the printed resources. Volunteers will deliver the learning resources to the homes of the students having difficulty getting the learning materials, or parents can get the printed resources through the different identified kiosks. Next, parents or guardians will help their child or children who are having difficulty on their lessons and monitor their performances. Teachers will monitor the learner's progress by weekly communication through text messaging, phone calls, Facebook Messenger, and all possible platforms. Next, parents will return the answered learning resources to school on the given schedule, or they may directly place the LRs in the identified kiosk. Lastly, volunteers or the LR Padala will get the learning resources from the homes of the students or kiosk and return them to the school to be received by the respective teachers. Another learning modality is the online distance learning. Presented is the process flow of online distance learning. The main difference of ODL or online distance learning with MDL is that online distance learning use different online platforms for the evaluation, assessments, and learning deliveries for the continuance of learning. Lastly is the process flow of blended learning, which is a combination of the modular distance learning and the online distance learning. Moving forward to the assessment of learning. The table shows the school's assessment plan according to the LDM of BestFit, which is the modular distance learning. Under this assessment plan, considerations include the platforms or technology to be used, the knowledge and the skills, attitude and values, the frequency, and the learning outcome, rubrics, and analysis. On the other hand, appropriate assessment strategies and tools are needed to be planned out and implemented to monitor the progress of the learners under MDL. Under this assessment model, three types of assessment will be done in accordance to this progress checking. First, diagnostic assessment. Second, formative assessment. And third, summative assessment. Next is the grading system based on the DepEd Order number 8 series of 2020. In the table, it shows how the learner's progress will be recorded and computed. In a grading period, there is one quarterly assessment, but there should be instances for learners to produce written works and to demonstrate what they know and what they can do through performance tasks. There is no required number of performance tasks and written works, but this must be spread out over the quarter and used to assess learner skills after each unit has been taught. Next is the school operations. First is the teacher deployment. The table shows the organization of the deployment of the teachers per grade level. For the following slides, presented are the sample class programs applicable for various learning modalities for grade 1 to grade 3, grade 4 to grade 6, and learners with special needs to guide the learners and teachers in the teaching learning process for the week. The learners may follow a flexible learning schedule at home, but it will serve as a constant guide on when the orientation, communication and distribution, retrieval, and assessment will take place. Moreover, for the learning resources, each learner will be receiving one envelope containing one SLMs per subject with activity sheets or worksheets, learners' packets, and manipulatives for LSEN to be delivered to their homes or can be picked up in school or in the barangay hall. Another part of the school operation is the continuing professional development through INSET and LAC session. Aside from the different courses and webinars attended by the teachers, regular schedule of in-service trainings every mid-year and the conduct of LAC sessions every end of the month will be implemented. Using performance and monitoring form, coaching and mentoring will be done by the school head to teachers, most especially to those who need learning support and technical assistance. Schedule of INSET or LAC will be followed accordingly. Moving on to the monitoring and evaluation plan. Under the monitoring and evaluation plan is the instructional supervision plan. Through the effective supervision of instruction, administrators can reinforce and enhance teaching practices that will contribute to improved student learning. By skillfully analyzing performance and appropriate data, administrators can provide meaningful feedback and direction to teachers that can have a profound effect on the learning that occurs in each classroom. Because student learning is the primary function of the schools, the effective supervision of instruction is one of the most critical functions of the administrator. On this slide is the monitoring and evaluation plan on learning delivery effectiveness, which will give guidance to who, when, what to monitor, how to collect data, and the risk factors, followed by the monitoring and evaluation plan process flow, emphasizing on modular distance learning. After the school operation is the school logistics management. As an integral instrument for modular distance learning, the school must ensure the promulgation and reproduction of the self-learning modules or SLMs. The reproduction of SLMs will be shouldered by the school and DepEd offices. By partition, 70% of the total required copies shall be provided by CO, RO, and SDO, while the remaining 30% shall be provided by the school through the allocated funding for MOOE, specifically 30% of the budget. Following the reproduction of SLMs is the distribution procedures of SLMs. The process flow shows how the modular distance learning will be delivered from the school or barangay hall to the learners. The ideal lesson exemplar will be prepared by the teachers as well as the learning packets, worksheets, and activity sheets, and then they will be packed in plastic envelopes containing the class schedule and the individual learning plan instruction checklist for the parents or guardians. In addition, modular distribution will be done every Monday. After the distribution procedures is of course the retrieval phase. First, returning of the materials from home to learning hub through pasabay sa kapitbahay or kabarangay. Then filling up the retrieval checklist or logbook. Afterwards, Teachers will check the completeness of the materials. Lastly, checking of the learner's work or output, assigning scores with the use of rubrics, and the recording of the learner's output. In addition, modular retrieval will be done every Friday. On the other hand, presented by the chart is the inventory of available materials. Supported by the data, it means that the school needs to reproduce or print a total of 842 SLMs in all learning areas from kinder to grade 6, or 69,200 pages, or equivalent to almost 140 reams of bond paper just only for the first quarter. Those figures highlighted with yellow are the gaps or the total number of self-learning modules that will be reproduced by the 30% of the school MOOE, SEF, and from other donations given by our partners. Next, after the discussion of the school operations and the school logistics management, is the school supply management. On this part is the parental involvement, which gives details to the roles and functions of the parents during distance learning and the parents' focal persons. Aside from the parental involvement, continuous efforts on preparing and gearing PAES to be ready for the new normal learning are done with strong communal support from the community volunteers and barangay officials of Barangay San Juan, Alaminos, Laguna. Evidently, the school and the local authorities signed a memorandum of agreement for the continued support to the school's LCP. Nevertheless, partnership and networking is not just limited to the school and the local authorities. Alumni association and non-governmental organizations are also in close communication with the school for a wider reach of support. Furthermore, for the Registry of Stakeholders, Shawnee A. Henry and Texin Incorporated are among the kind donors for the school's LCP. Community volunteers include 15 community tutors, 50 LR pasabay, and 14 LR movers. Next is the section 3, which is about funding resource requirement and sources. The table shows the funding and procurement details for the distance learning materials covered from July to December 2020. 30% of the allocated budget from MOOE amounting to 95,258 and 57 centavos shall be appropriated for the printing and reproduction of modules, idea lesson exemplar, activity sheets, worksheets, and learner's packet. Preferably, the said percentage will be covered by the procurement under the student assessment, inset, and instructional supplies. In addition, donations from PTA and other stakeholders shall likewise be procured for the printing and reproduction of activity sheets, learners' packets, and SLMs. Allocated budget for repairs shall be constituted from MOOE and SEF. These necessary repairs include but not limited to refurnishing of the reading areas and most importantly, maintenance of hand washing facilities in the school. Other sources of funding are directed to gauge the preparation of materials and self-learning modules for distance learning. Generally, utilities and other mandated expense shall be procured accordingly to their specified allocations. Ultimately, for the legal basis, in crafting the school's learning continuity plan, PAES made use of the following DepEd issuances as references and guides to better fit its SLCP to the needs of our stakeholders. Even as we set policies in the central office, we will primarily consider local public health conditions in adjusting our LCP. Preventive measures will be put in place to secure the health and well-being of our personnel and our learners under this new normal. It is our ultimate goal to facilitate the safe return of our teachers and learners to school without the worry for COVID-19. But until such time is already possible, we will do everything in our capacity to carry on so that basic education will still be available despite the crisis. We expect a grueling transition and we will need the help and support of all our stakeholders. As reiterated by Education Secretary Leonor M. Briones, education must continue. Hashtag Sulong Edukalidad. Thank you and good day.